Welcome to Two Camera Chaps. In fact, today I'm on my own, so it's welcome to One Camera Chaps. And we're in some woods in Wiltshire, and it's a lovely day for filming. Today we're going to be looking at audio. And one thing that I always find is that it's human nature that whenever we buy new kit, and let's be honest, we buy new kit quite often, if we test it, we always want it to come out better than what we're using before. And I've just bought recently one of these external 32-bit recorders. This happens to be a Zoom F3. So what is 32-bit float recording, and is there any advantages? Well, on paper, yes there is. The preamps inside this device record two levels of audio, one for the low level and one for the high level, and combines them together. So technically we should get nice clean audio at low volume, and we should avoid distortion and peaking at the high levels. So it seems like magic in principle, but in reality, is it something that someone that's tone deaf can tell the difference, or do we need the average kind of ability of a barn owl's hearing before we can actually hear the difference? Only one way to find out, and that's to run a test. The first one, I'm just going to plug the Sennheiser G3 straight into the Canon R3 that's recording us now. Then I'm going to swap it out and put the same microphone into the XLR of the F3 and run the test again. So without further ado, let's crack on with the test, nip back to the studio, let Lee have a listen through some headphones and see if we can physically hear the difference. Okay, let's start with test A with some ambient woodland audio. In fact, you might be able to hear some farm machinery in the background. And a woodpecker. Anyway, this is with the Sennheiser G3 plugged directly into the R3's 3.5mm jack plug input, talking at normal volume. And if we did what actors typically do, look down, start talking, maybe even talk really loud, I suspect there may be a tad of distortion on that audio file. Now let's try and repeat the exercise with the microphone plugged into the Zoom F3. Okay, this is test B with the Sennheiser plugged into the F3. Thank you, Mr. Woodpecker. A few seconds of woodland sound. Do the same walk test as before. Stop at a given point, look down, start talking loud, talk really loud, maybe really loud to see how well it copes with the distortion. Okay, so I've had a quick listen through the headphones here on location, and it's blatantly obvious to me which one's which. On the in-camera audio, as soon as I tipped my head and I started talking or raised my voice, the audio distortion was evident, as I'm just sure you've seen. The F3, however, was much better, and it just seems to be in post. It'll be interesting to see how much I can play with it, but listening back through the headphones, it seemed absolutely perfect. So I think 32-bit float recording has got a real place in our armoury, especially if you've got audio environments where you've got unpredictable levels of sound coming in. I think it's going to be a fantastic thing to use. I want to nip back to the studio now and have a chat with Lee about the pros and cons of recording internally versus externally, because it's not always clear cut. Although I think at the moment, from what I've just heard, if you're just comparing the quality of the audio, 32-bit float audio wins every time. And we'll get to a point where typically the talent might look down and start talking loud or very loud. And I do suspect that there may be some distortion on the audio file when we play that back. Stop at a given point, look down, start talking loud, talk really loud, maybe really loud to see how well it copes with the distortion.